Hi folks, in this video I'm going to show you how you can revise sentence fragments to make them complete sentences. So let's take a look at this first example that you can see in your video. Playing video games until 2 o'clock in the morning. Now if you remember our two rules for identifying sentence fragments, the first being we need to find a verb and the subject. The second being we should be able to add "it is true that" to the beginning of this and have it still make sense. We can already tell that this is not a complete sentence. Let's try the first rule. Playing video games until 2 o'clock in the morning. We have a verb, playing, that's an action, but we don't know who or what is playing the video games, so that means that it is missing a subject. Now, when you've identified a sentence fragment, there are a few different ways that you can go about revising it. The easiest way is to add what is missing. So if we look at this sentence fragment and we want to add a subject to this sentence, we could do something as simple as adding Mr. Gandolfi was, and then playing video games until 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, if we run our two tests on that, we will see that that sentence passes both tests, and so it is a complete sentence. And all we did was we added a subject. Now, that's not the only way that we could revise the sentence. Sometimes we can add things at the beginning, like a subject. Other times, we can use a sentence fragment as a sort of introductory phrase, or sometimes a subordinate clause, and then add a full independent clause at the end. Hopefully, you remember dependent and independent clauses from last year. So let's try an example. Let's try revising this where we add an independent clause at the end. I'm going to start the sentence with our full sentence fragment. Playing video games until 2 o'clock in the morning, comma, and then now I need to add an independent clause with a subject and a verb that sort of finishes that thought. Alice had no time to complete her homework or get any sleep. Playing video games until 2 o'clock in the morning, Alice had no time to complete, her homework or get any sleep. So you can see we used that sentence fragment as an introductory phrase and then wrote an independent clause at the end of it. So there are a few different ways you can revise sentence fragments depending on what it is that you're trying to communicate and the length of the sentence you are trying to write. Let's look at another example. Until their dad texted, "Where are you?" It's a little ominous. Now, if you remember your grammar instruction from last year, you might notice that until is a very special kind of word. It is what is called a subordinating conjunction or an awubis word. Awubis is an acronym for remembering the subordinating conjunctions. And if we go through them real quick, we've got after, although, as, when, while, until, before, because, if, since. Knowing these words and having them memorized is really helpful for recognizing them in sentences. It allows you to more effectively recognize when you've got a dependent clause, which this example, until their dad texted, "Where are you?" is. It starts with until. That means that this is not a complete sentence. And so we have a few ways of going about this. We could add something until the beginning. We could add something to the beginning of this sentence. Alex and his girlfriend were shopping at the mall. Actually, I'm not going to make it his girlfriend because the pronoun there makes that weird. Alex and his brother were shopping at the mall until their dad texted, "Where are you?" That's one way we could revise the sentence, by adding some information to the beginning that has a subject and a verb. We could also use this again as an introductory clause and add something to the end. Until their dad texted, "Where are you?" Alex and his brother had enjoyed their day shopping at the mall. Here we've got an example of adding some information at the end, a subject and a verb, a complete thought at the end that uses the sentence fragment as an introductory clause. Let's take a look at a third example. High above their heads, nestled in the rafters. Again, if we use our two tests, we can recognize this is missing a subject. There's a verb here, but it is also only for part of this, so we could go about adding information to the beginning or to the end to make this more complete. Who or what was high above their heads, nestled in the rafters? Maybe it is the soccer ball that's been stuck in the rafters for years. The soccer ball, the ancient soccer ball, was high above their heads, nestled in the rafters. That's one way we could add it. We could also do it at the end of the sentence as well. High above their heads, nestled in the rafters was the ancient soccer ball. So as you can see through all three of these examples, when we've got a sentence fragment, basically what we need to do is add whatever was missing from the two tests that we used. We can add information to the beginning of the fragment. We can add information to the end. There are a variety of ways we can go about revising, but ultimately we want to make sure that whatever we're adding, whatever we're revising, we are doing so to create a complete sentence that can pass both of the tests that we talked about and say something interesting about what it is that we're writing.